So who's running this meeting?
I think that would be Bill and I.
Amy.
Bill has joined us with McGill & Associates, and he has done a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to share his screen and go through. And then after we've gone through that, we'll accept questions at the end. And as we notified everybody when we sent this out, we want to discuss the possibility of medians on College Street, and as a kind of a secondary conversation, possibility of those on Main, since we're discussing medians in general in the downtown vicinity and other areas of Oxford. So Bill, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, I think Cindy was going to make that possible.
Let's see how that goes. Well, so far, no, it says host disabled screen sharing.
Try now. You got it?
Yep. Yep.
All right. I now see your screen, Bill.
Good. Okay. So, as Amy's already pitching on, the purpose of the meeting tonight is to go over what we're talking about with adding some medians to College Street and Main Street, and trying to get some input from the public before anything moves forward with the plan. So the reason for me to add the medians on College Street, we have proposed water and sewer that would be being installed along College Street, and there's concerns about the new lines going in too close to all the mature trees along the edge of the roadway. And so if we put them in a median, that allows us to move to the center of the road and get away from the potential damage to the system, and also to the limbs that possibly could be affected by excavators digging the trenches for the water and sewer. Doing that will also should reduce the cost of those installations, because when you're doing a resurfacing of those trenches along a street like College Street, the asphalt is in the neighborhood of about 13 inches thick. And so when you apply 13 inches of asphalt depth across the width of a trench, it gets quite pricey. So if we move it to the center in a median, we can cut out the asphalt and not have to put that back. Instead, we would put in the two curbs on either side of the median and then do a backfill with dirt that could be planted in grass. So there would be a cost savings in that restoration. And the medians are also in keeping with the downtown master plan that was adopted recently, and the NCDOT 2015 comp plan. So it's something that's been anticipated, and this is an opportunity to move that forward as a part of this water and sewer project. Along Main Street, same thing, it's in keeping with the master plan. So it's something that's been anticipated, and this is a first step forward in trying to implement that. It improves pedestrian safety, and that you're narrowing the path that a pedestrian has to walk from sidewalk to sidewalk, crossing lanes of traffic. And doing all the design now leverages DOT's upcoming paving program, because if we provide them with a striping plan, they can include that in the bids that they actually have out right now. So this is a couple of images that I was able to pull from your master plan. On the left is College Street. and you forgive some of the orientation. I tried to flip the sections from the report so that it would match the drawings we're going to be looking at soon. So you've got Williamsboro, Hillsborough Street on your left, and then to the right, then you get to East McClanahan. Main Street, same thing. I've flipped it so that it's oriented to match the drawings we'll see a little bit later in the presentation, even though the text is upside down. So this extends from Williamsboro down to Spring Street. This is an image that has been up on the city's website for a bit. This is the section of median that we're proposing from that section we were talking about, again, at Williamsboro up to the end of the water and sewer project around Alexander Avenue. So this is by no means the final design, but what this does show is the width, and if you only look at intersections and the left turn movements, this is where you would have a median. And the more median length we have, the more savings that is to the city in eliminating the costly pavement repair. So this is not 3 images of the same street. It's 3 contiguous. You can see some match lines there. Top one is from left to right, and then you have a match line A to A in the middle. So that's how you assemble that to make that go from that block near Hillsborough all the way up to Alexander. So I'm going to look at a specific area. Did you have something, Amy?
I was just going to pop in and say that, it's starting in the vicinity of Watkins Street and going to just south of Alexander. So we're not taking the median all the way to Hillsborough, Williamsboro. We're looking at starting it at the Watkins, just past the Watkins intersection.
Right, yeah, which is consistent with the master plan. So it's
Correct.
the area south of Watkins be restriped to accommodate the streetscape master plan, but the median would not extend that far.
Correct.
So I have a rendering of that area that's now in the red oval just to kind of help illustrate what we're talking about. So this is a section near Hayes Street. You can see we're talking about a grassed median in the middle of the road, a left turn lane in this case that would let traffic turn onto Hayes. And we would have parking lanes along the curb there where the cars are, and then a nice wide travel lane still remaining in the middle of the road near the median. You can see some little brown color there we're shown on the tips of the islands that would mimic what's already on the Main Street median, where there's some flowers planted on each end to just make everything a lot more attractive. And here's a section view just to kind of give you a little bit better feel. You can see with the car parked along the curb, there's still plenty of room for a vehicle to pass and be able to be parked there safely if you're parked overnight where allowed, or for those that are lined up at the school pickup and drop off times. This section I will look at from Williamsboro to Spring on Main Street. We've talked a couple of times about the DOT upcoming paving project as a part of their work that is going to be bid in the spring to start construction next summer. They're including a roundabout. So this is the cover page from their set of plans that will be rolled in with the paving. So DOT will actually be installing the roundabout and the approach island splitters that go with that as a part of their paving project. There'll be an anchor on that end for the city's streetscape improvements. And this would be again, this is a first draft that we're open for input, but this reflects what's in the existing streetscape master plan and incorporates the roundabout that was in that plan, along with doing some painted islands and an additional mid-block crosswalk. So the section we're looking at there, that's the church at the top of the page and the post office at the bottom of the page with that new crosswalk connecting across between those two We're showing a median there. With the upcoming work, we don't know that we could get DOT to be willing to contribute the cost for a concrete median or concrete curbs of the grassed median. But what we can do is provide them a striping plan. So this would be all paint that you see in this image, except for the roundabout part. Those will be concrete, but everything else on here would just be painted. And then as the funds are available, you would have, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with my screen and all the red marker. So I guess you're seeing that too on your end?
We are. It looks rather interesting.
I have no idea what's going on.
I think we have been bombed by somebody.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm guessing so. Well,
If you go forward in your screens, do we continue to keep the?
No.
Yep.
the markers are
Okay,
still
do we
there.
need to, do we need, to-
All
do
right,
we need,
so-
okay.
Yep, it went away. So anyway, so what you see there would be just painted islands that could be included as part of the DOT plan, but it would set the stage so that at later time periods, you could come in and add the concrete and grassed islands, and all the striping would already be in place that would allow that to happen without a lot of reconstruction on the part of the city's dollars. So with that, that's where I'm going to stop for now, and we can start having questions. Or Amy, if you have something else that you want to add to what I've presented so far.
I just want to go ahead and add that many of these projects have been going on and being looked at for an extended period of time, and I would suggest maybe we just stop sharing the screen.
Yeah.
And that we can, we're looking at the things that we would be, DOT would be willing for us to do as part of their plan, or that our funding agency for our water and sewer projects would be for us to incorporate as part of those utility improvements. The utility improvements, they pay for, cutting the road and patching the road, as we've seen in a number of locations throughout town. On the College Street, they are asking for not only the cut and the patch, but also to extend beyond the patch with the resurfacing, which makes that much more expensive than we have been looking at on our previous projects. When they indicated that was a requirement, we started looking at other alternatives to make it a little more economical, and or what we incorporate that was part of either the comprehensive transportation plan from 2015 that DOT had put in place with the input of the city, and the downtown master plan. And so, we have tried to incorporate a number of different projects at one time. And, we have to work with the various funding agencies and other, DOT agency that's not necessarily doing any funding, to work with their schedules and their timelines. We're not just, doing this independent of any other entity. So those are that we have to take as we are doing projects and moving forward. And I am sure that there are a number of questions from folks as to how this may, impact you personally on College Street, where a median might be going in front of your house. As most of you are aware, we do have medians on Main Street, on Spring Street, on Martin Luther King Jr. Medians are not something new to the city of Oxford. Our police department, our fire department, our EMS has worked with medians and knows how to
I think we're still being Zoom bombed.
You guys, we might have to do a new Zoom link for the people that want to be a part of this meeting, because I don't think it's going to get any better.
Is there a way you can that you can mute everyone except those that are speaking?
Or that, yeah.
I did.
Oh,
Oh, gotcha.
Well, we can carry on, I think, but if it gets worse, then my suggestion would be that we get off and get back on with maybe, I think what the county did was have people register to get the link, and that way you can stop somebody from anonymously coming on. But right now it's silent, so Amy, maybe carry on?
I
we
will
jump
open
in?
it up for
Can we
questions.
jump in for questions now?
Sure.
So as a homeowner on College, I'm very supportive of a median. I think it looks, the plan looks good. Couple items of feedback. One, I'd relook at the distance provided turning from College to Forest. There's a lot of traffic that turns from College to Forest. You may not have enough space there as you've allocated. Second, I would really encourage the consideration for something other than a grass median. I would really like for this not to look like the south side entrance coming into town on Martin Luther King Avenue. That's just not a good look. It's really not, folks. We could do a lot better with plantings and other things that are more creative and appealing in terms of making a more favorable impression coming into town. If grass is where you land, then okay. But I would really encourage you to consider something other than grass. You can do a lot better. You really can. So that's it from my standpoint in terms of a homeowner on College.
Okay, and let me just respond to, and I appreciate your support and your comments. As Bill had said, we have an approximate layout on the medians, and we'll look at the turn lane specifically like Forest as to do we provide enough, turn lane for more than one or two cars to be there if that's necessary. With regard to the grass in the median, we would work with some of our facilities folks to see what we could plant in the median. Since there is going to be water and sewer in the median, one of our concerns is you cannot put trees or something that has a significant root base that will get into those utilities and destroy them. And we would hate to put something in that we would then subsequently have to cut down after it matures, to the point where it's getting into the utilities. So whether or not we could put some low shrubs in there that have shallow root bases, that's something that we can certainly look at.
I would strongly encourage, because you don't want to obstruct views. That's one of the nice things about College Street and being able to look either way. But I think you could, I think there's a plethora of opportunities below the 5 foot, 4 foot level with shallow root systems that could be considered up and down College. But I would really be distressed if this was all grass.
In all likelihood, it would start out as grass, just as part of a construction contract. They are not there to install landscaping, they're there to install utilities. And that would probably be a phased in approach to do something as part of another project later down the line.
Sounds like you just added cost to the project to me.
Added cost to,
You're doing something twice. You just added cost.
I can't have the Division of Water Infrastructure that's funding our utility installation is not going to fund landscaping. And so that's something that we would have to at a part of a different project, different time. But, we certainly, are open to looking at more than just grass in that median. Is there anyone else that had some questions about the median?
This is Marshall Tanner. My wife and I definitely favor this proposal to have a median, primarily, because of the safety cars are speeding up and down this road, making lots of noise, passing on the right and causing accidents. And we're concerned, about the school children crossing the street. And then if we can reduce the large number of large trucks that come, that would be helpful too. But we also, we talk about us being a historic, friendly, walkable city. We want to be able to have people can be safely in their yards, safely on the sidewalks, especially where you have young children that are out playing on the sidewalk. Because you could say cars don't do that much, can come up there, but we have had several telephone poles been hit. And if there were children near that, then they could get hurt. Plus, we are encouraging more and more people to walk. We used to have a median there, and that was, I think it was taken off before we put in the loop. So they could have a bypass there. We really like the thought of not having to put our trees in danger too. There's over 40 large trees that have been there, probably 75 to 125 years of age. And, all the streets are important, and this one is too. And having a median, I think it really adds to the beauty and enhanced values of our community. And with that helps, the home values too. But more than everything else, I think keeping the trees safe, keeping the costs down, and improving the safety of the whole neighborhood, all up and down there. Because, we do have some neighbors across the street that do have a lot of children that love to play, and we enjoy watching them from our porch. But I'd hate to see a car come up there and hurt or kill one of them too. So we're very much in favor of this project.
All right, appreciate your input.
Hello, I have a question. I'm Shotzi Winborn. I live in Berea, but I shop in Oxford all the time, and I enjoy going into the town. I think the medians would be just a wonderful asset to the community. And as far as the landscaping, there's so many volunteer garden groups around that people could adopt a section and put in daylilies or, I don't know, daffodils that bloom at different times. There's a lot that can be done with that if you use your imagination. I do have a question. Will the median be shortened there at the library where there's going to be a roundabout? Or will the original length of the median stay?
You mean the existing median that's already on Main Street between Spring and Front?
Yes, will that be changed?
No, ma'am.
No.
That will stay as is.
Great, because there's a historical marker there that's very important.
Right. We're not planning on touching that median. The median that Bill was speaking about would be on the post office and church side, where we may paint a median in there as a temporary, look forward to the future of what we can do at some point with putting in an actual curbed median.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
I'd like to make, if I could, Kevin Otis, who is the director at the Masonic Home for Children in Oxford, has sent me a question. He's on the call listening with his phone, and he asks that we make sure that there is plenty of turn space going into the main drive at the Masonic Home for Children, that they have lots of traffic in and out. That also includes delivery trucks, so semis. So, and that's their, I guess I did fail to ask him when he texted me this, whether there would be an opportunity for delivery trucks to go in at the entrance that is further down at the playing fields, if that could be a way. But anyway, that's his comment.
Yeah,
And then-
so the plan that we have right now that was illustrated, we laid it out with space for left turns at primary intersections based on the traffic volumes that are on College Street. So typically what we've got is room for about 2 cars to be stacked waiting to turn left at all those cross streets. If this gets legs and it's something that everybody wants to move forward with, then we'll start looking at specific commercial drives. We'll look at the school drives and specific side street volumes, and then adjust the lengths of those medians based on that information.
And so if that's wonderful, Bill, thank you. And so I would just add that when we get to that point, if you all can put Kevin Otis as a contact for the Masonic Home for Children, because that's an institution that has people coming to town and has a variety of traffic because of the nature of the work that they do. If you could maybe have that conversation to discuss the details with them, that'd probably be great.
Mayor, this is Danny Kern. If we stop it at Alexander, wouldn't that be at the turn that goes into the Masonic Home?
It might be.
I think it is.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm backing out. I see John has his hand raised.
Yes, just my 2 cents worth. I just think that to keep with the aesthetics of College Street, we've got those beautiful old houses down there, and they, along with the trees, are so important to Oxford, to the aesthetics of Oxford. We can't risk losing those trees, you know, when we've got an alternative of putting the new water and sewer pipes down the centre, making it safer and everything. That's just I think it's important that we keep those trees along with the houses. So I'm all in favour of a median down there.
And in addition, you know, showing parking lanes, defined parking lanes along the curb line. So that's going to help discourage some of that passing on the right, and also keep trucks and moving vans and things away from the curbs and away from the trees, so that you don't have concerns about them clipping limbs all the time as they drive through.
Just wondering, was there any consideration for bike lanes in any of this design?
I think that the bike lanes in this vicinity, that is part of the bike and pedestrian master plan, is probably for Sharrows, for shared lane. And that would be something that we could look at.
I'm glad that you asked that question, because it's also possible that in the bike plan, they had us coming up broad. I can't remember. So I agree, Amy, that it was either for Sharrows, but I think it's a point worth double checking what's in the bicycle master plan, just to see what the recommendation was there. And if we're going to be doing painting, that maybe we could paint Sharrows if that's what it is. I have a question. Oh, Lori Dutra has a question.
Hi, this is Lori Dutra. Hi, everybody. I noticed in the plan for Main Street, the area where the median has ended, and we've done the painting and the restriping between the post office and the church. Is there going to be a similar design like that in the area on College where the medians end and we come down to the Williamsboro-Hillsboro intersection, where that section is also painted and striped as part of this?
So can you define that section again a little better for me?
This is the section that starts right downtown where Williamsboro hits College, and there is no median in that section. It's
right.
the business section, if you will, before the medians start beyond McClanahan. That area, can we design that with either painted crosswalk improvements and calming things, or possibly engineer those in that section? Or are we too early for that?
Well, College Street in that vicinity is not part of the DOT resurfacing. They are not planning that as part of their next project like they are Main Street. And so trying to ask them to paint outside of their existing work zone, they may or may not be willing to do that. As we start asking them to do things outside of their work zone, the DOT may come back and say, if you've got a big enough project, why don't you just do it yourself? And we're still trying to make sure that we can piggyback their project and get a little bit better economy of scale on the pricing. So
Sure.
So Amy, to clarify, so then we were able to discuss the median on College because it is specifically related to the utility projects.
correct.
We're able to discuss the median on Main because it's related to the DOT project. Is that the distinction?
Correct, and there is also a sewer line being extended on Main Street, but primarily the median that we, looking at painting on Main Street is because DOT is already repurposing Main Street, would already be painting the parking lines, the center lines. We would just be asking to paint a different scheme than going back.
Okay.
Does the DOT commitment on Main extend any farther than just Main? Does it go down Williamsboro?
DOT will be resurfacing Williamsboro as part of that project, not Hillsboro, not College, but Williamsboro and Maine.
And I know that's not medians, but is that an area that we could possibly do the design with the painting or the engineered pedestrian improvements, or is that time closed?
It's getting a little off of the area that we're
It's not
specifically
median.
focused on tonight, but we have been in communication, Mary and I and Amy, and about doing a striping plan like that to try and take advantage of the fact that DOT is going to have a fresh canvas, and we can try and set the stage for those future improvements now, just like we were talking about.
Great.
Mr. Wick has been holding his hand up for a long time there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tovey. It was okay. I was resting on a desk. For the record, my name is David Wicker. I'm a resident on College Street at 404 College Street. I'm also the chairman of city planning. I guess I will be the devil's advocate. I'm going to be so far the only one that's going to take a position contrary to putting in the medians. I would be very much opposed to the medians. First, the medians are not something that is historically accurate with regard to the street. The old photographs of College Street show a very wide street that has existed ever since its inception. I'm assuming that the purpose of the median is simply because it's cheaper with regard to utilities, but not necessarily because it's better for any other reason. College Street differs from Main Street, which differs from Spring Street, and that College Street is not does not consist only of residential properties, as does, other than the library, which is the part where it's accessed on the side of Spring Street, has no median. Spring Street and Main Street are residences. College Street has a funeral home, it has an elementary school, and has a children's home. It also has the hospital further up the road. Now, while an ambulance may or may not have to go up Main Street for a particular purpose, every ambulance must go up and down College Street when it's either leaving the hospital or coming back to the hospital from Oxford or some location on the other side of Oxford. So you're going to have the ambulance traffic that you're going to have to deal with. You've got the parking with the funeral and the parking with the schools. That does not increase the safety in any way, at least in my opinion, because during the times when they have funerals, many of which are large, there'll be cars parked past my house. When you're picking up and dropping off for the elementary school, especially early in the year, I'm a couple of 100 yards from the elementary school. Cars are still parked by my house. I realized the artist drawings had a place for the cars to park, but now what you have is the opportunity of everybody stepping outside of two cars into traffic with no other place to go. Now you've got to open the car door into the car lane to get in and out of a car. You don't have to do that when you have the additional room of the median. So the median is not going to affect the speed, and in my opinion is going to increase the risk to those trying to use a parked car either for the funeral or for the elementary school. Additionally, all of your celebrations, the Children's Home Parade, the homecoming parade for Webb go up and down College Street. Now you've eliminated that as an access, both of which draw attention into the town. None of that has been taken into consideration either. Personally, I'm just, absolutely against putting the medians in, and so far it sounds like I'm the only one that is, but I just don't know that it's been completely thought out. It appears to me this is being approached more of this is the cheap way, this is the cheap fix, let's take the cheap fix. I realize we may have to replant trees, but if we dig it up down the center of the street, we can do it the cheapest way possible.
Well, we appreciate your input, and we, can certainly look at some of your concerns about the, the parade use. And I'm not sure if the funeral home joined us this evening on the Zoom call. They were sent a letter as well. We can certainly, touch base with them to see if they, had any concerns, but appreciate you bringing up some points there. Commissioner Bridges?
I have a, no, go on. I don't want to cut anybody else off.
Commissioner Bridges had his hand up. I was going to let him go ahead.
Okay. Well, obviously, I don't live on College Street. And it seems that we've heard from two residents who are in favor of it and one who is against it, Mr. Wicker. I was wondering, have we really talked to all of the folks that live on College Street? I mean, I'd like to get a true feeling of the folks who live on College Street. Hearing from three is not enough for me to have a good feel for the feeling of the residents that live on that street. And I think that Mr. Wicker makes some very good points about safety for residents that may live on that street who park their cars and have to open their doors. And, I just had this thought, I was really, my antennas went up when somebody said, well, it'll be safer for the children at the school. And then when I heard Mr. Wicker say, well, with the narrower street, a child walking, between two cars could certainly be more in danger if it's narrower. And I'd like to balance, the feelings of the people that live on that street with issues of safety. And it seems to me that most of the parades I've seen have gone down that street.
With regard to contacting everybody on College Street, we did mail a letter to all the property owners that would be directly impacted either by the College Street median or the Main Street median, and provided, the information for this Zoom call, as well as my contact information and my engineering tech Daryl's contact information. We have had a couple of individuals contact us outside of the meeting that have expressed their opinions that we're not going to be able to make the Zoom meeting. And we are certainly open to anybody that wants to provide input that was not able to attend this evening.
May I speak?
Thank you very much.
I'd like to speak.
Amy?
Okay, Tony?
Yeah, if I may speak, I'd like to.
Okay, Tony, I saw your hand up. So.
Right, so I'm Tony Armento. I live at 203 College Street. And I want to say I hear the comments on both sides, but on the whole, I have to say I enthusiastically support the addition of this median to College Street. I don't think it's accurate that historically that there was not a median. It's my understanding from people with history longer than mine in town that not only was there a median, but there were races around the median on College Street, and that it was only removed to enhance traffic. And it has done exactly that. It has succeeded in enhancing traffic. Since, however, the loop was created, it was my understanding that was intended to alleviate, in part, traffic on College Street. And by restoring the median to College Street, I think then therefore it would have that effect. This street has changed substantially in the 35 years that I have been in this house. It no longer has a neighborhood feel to it. The feeling is unlike Main Street. It's even unlike Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. There is heavy traffic here and it's fast. I disagree wholeheartedly that a median would not reduce the speed. This is, I think, the only street in any of the central part of the city that has a speed limit of 35 miles an hour. And you still have people really up your trunk trying to make you go faster. This is clearly going to slow down the traffic, which is a good thing. And I believe it will enhance and really create what was lost, which is the neighborhood feeling on this part of town.
Appreciate your input and your comments. I think I saw Mr. Pope's hand up.
You did. Congratulations, Amy. I understand that you recently, yeah, there you go. There you go. I think that's wonderful. And I'd like to also say that I believe that our city staff, day in and day out, does a very good job for all of us. I think the comments that I've heard back and forth have been well thought out. With regard to David's comments, he is absolutely correct with the way business is done today. But I believe there are options for the funeral home and the school to address the traffic issues on their own properties. Broad Street's an excellent opportunity to redirect traffic, and behind the funeral home there is a very, very large parking lot. You know, I want Oxford to be the best city in the country, not just Granville County or North Carolina. I want it to be the best city in the country. And we got wonderful people here. Our services are that are provided are good. They're not over the top, but on the other hand, our taxes are reasonable as well. So I'm in favor of the median, but I do believe that the folks who have businesses on College Street need to participate in this conversation and look at how they could address their issues and then address, you know, the commissioners. There are lots of kids that live on this street. I am encouraged every day when I sit out on my front porch and I see young people that, when I say young people, that's anyone under 60. But I'm seeing a lot of people in the 30 to 45-year-old range that are out walking and enjoying the walkability of our city. You know, we have neighbors across the street from us that moved here from Raleigh because of the cost of living, et cetera. And there are lots of others in the community that we're seeing that from as well. So I just believe that this effort is a good effort, and that we all should work together to make it work for everyone. And I see this as an opportunity that might enhance the growth of the city. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
All right, we appreciate your comments, and I was just told I only had my pictures up and didn't realize, Mr. Blaine, you've had your hand raised apparently for some time. I wasn't trying to ignore you, I just had the video up and didn't see your hand raised, so if you want to go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I guess as a business owner on Main Street in downtown, so we had a bunch of questions. I emailed them over. I'll just try to hit some of the high points on it. Broadly speaking, we were concerned about how how was the scope of this project defined, and some of the different and how can we include more parts of the Main Street in the downtown business district in some of these street improvements. Understand the striping and certain things that DOT will take on, but we are interested in moving forward with some more permanence in regards to the downtown master plan. As a small business owners who chose Oxford because of its community and in part with the vision that came from that downtown master plan, we are a little disheartened to see that large portions of downtown will be getting repaved, and some of these other pieces are not being implemented while that significant cost and project is being undertaken. I guess we're also trying to understand how this works. So DOT, I've been trying to get up to speed on how DOT does projects, and are they still taking, I guess this project hasn't been bid out yet in different regards to it. Is there still time to add other pieces to this project?
Okay, let me see if I can hit some of those questions, and I'll touch on them briefly, because as Bill mentioned, one of our focuses for this the main reason for this meeting tonight was focusing on the Main Street and College Street medians. There is a little bit of, Main Street wrapped into that and some of the downtown master plan, because it appears that any project in Oxford is not a completely isolated and standalone project. It touches on other things. The scope of the resurfacing project was determined by DOT with regard to paving Main Street and Williamsboro. They based that on a resurfacing cycle of approximately every 10 to 15 years. It depends on the age of the street, the type of traffic that's on it, how the wear and tear goes on that. So, as part of their project, we have requested that we can expand this and make sure that when we're installing our utilities, that the installation of the utilities takes place prior to the resurfacing. We don't want to make the asphalt pretty and put a brand new cut into it as soon as the asphalt goes down. So DOT has delayed the project in order to accommodate our utility installation. With the funding issues that DOT has had recently, they actually told us at one point it might be 2037 before they came into Oxford and did resurfacing. So while they have come back since then and said that they're planning on doing the project next year, I certainly don't.
Amy, you're kind of going out a little bit. I don't know what's going on with your computer, but if you can get a little bit closer to the microphone, that might help.
Okay, let me see. Is this any better
Way
at all?
better.
Yep.
Okay, we will get up close and personal here. So, as I mentioned, DOT, had delayed this project. I might be repeating part of this in case it broke up. DOT delayed the project to allow us to do utility installation. With the funding issues that they had, the project, we were tentatively told, was delayed to 2037. We obviously want them to do resurfacing before that. They came back and said, we are ready to do this project and move forward if you get in ahead of Raleigh and one of their projects. Because if we wait and we get behind the schedule behind Raleigh's project may take up the funding. And so we certainly don't want to delay this project, and cause DOT to put us on the back burner. What items that we can add into the resurfacing project or into our utility project that do incorporate master plan ideas, we're working on, adding those to what is strictly considered a resurfacing job or strictly considered a utility job. So bringing elements of the master plan in is a bonus. So it's not something that, we're trying to neglect the master plan. It's just we are trying to incorporate elements of the master plan into a utility project and a resurfacing project. We would all like to see, everything done in the master plan, but unfortunately we do not have funding for that at this time. I think I got most of the main questions in there.
I guess, yes, you did. I mean, yes, I understand money is always going to be something that has to be fought for and advocated where you want it to be spent. One thing I've been reading about is the Complete Streets program with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and how they go through and will make streets more than a single use space in a town. So they'll add pedestrian enhancements, they'll add parking enhancements, they'll add biking enhancements and different things. Is a Complete Streets policy something that Oxford has worked to implement in downtown with the Department of Transportation? And is that something that we could move forward with on this, if they're going to be repaving the streets and have this policy in place? Is that something we could advocate for them implementing here?
And we're really getting a little off topic with a discussion of Complete Streets, because that does not, go with our median on College Street. Complete Streets, if you do them from scratch, starts out in a brand new subdivision or brand new road. We certainly don't have that in this area here. But I do know we have a couple other people that have some questions. We might be able to circle back to some more general questions about projects after we touch on the median questions. Jessica, I understand you also had your hand up.
Hello. So personally, being a business owner on Main Street, I am not a fan of the bulb outs. One of, I'm sure, everyone's biggest concern on Main Street is the parking spaces it's taking. Now, granted, I've been told there's hundreds of them in this area, but it's just not something that a lot of our clients or customers are accustomed to doing. Parking in the courthouse parking lot when you have court, it's not an option. SunTrust, Oasis, around that area could be an option, but there really isn't too much compared to what they're taking off Main Street. So my other concern is multiple times a week, the ambulance, like the one guy was saying with College Street, is going up and down this road. So not only will we have a little more congestion for anyone to be able to get out of the way, but then on top of that, the food delivery trucks or beer delivery trucks, they park right in the center of the road. So that's going to stop a lot of traffic and have more congestion just on this one street. So here we go with another issue of people even wanting to travel this street to shop downtown. And so that was some of our concerns of being on Main Street with these bulb outs. Y'all have any? No. Okay.
And I guess the bulb out, once again, is a little bit outside of the median question, because the median we were looking at would be in front of the Baptist church and the post office. So it would not be in the area that deliveries are occurring, to my knowledge, unless I'm missing the boat as to where trucks park for doing deliveries. With regard to the parking, I think Bill could tell you just real quick that I think the number of parking spaces is actually going to remain pretty close to the same due to an adjustment of the parking space size. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, and it's not so much the size, but the angle will change a little bit. There's still going to be 9-foot wide spaces, which is a typical parking stall. So even with adding the bump outs, we did not lose anything in the parking count.
Okay. And let's see, Stephen has had his hand up, I believe, also.
I think Jessica is still talking, but we can't hear her.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying thank you. I did not realize that they were redoing the parking spaces. I was not told that part, so, but thank you.
Then glad we could clarify that.
Yes.
Stephen, did you have questions? Stephen Stockton?
Yeah, yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So I live on College Street. I'm the guy with all the kids that has been mentioned. And maybe I'm not thinking about this right, but I have some mixed feelings, honestly, about adding a median in College Street. And of course, especially having a large family with young children, I am 100% for making the street as safe as we can make it. I'm not completely convinced that doing this automatically makes it significantly safer on the street. And there are definitely some negatives. It's a fairly significant inconvenience to add that median. Where we live, it would require us to turn the opposite direction out of our driveway than we would almost always turn. And as far as, I'm for the town saving money where they can too, but I guess it remains to be seen if it will save money and how much money it would save. Doesn't save me any money. I don't think I'm getting that as a rebate in my taxes or anything. So, as far as saving the trees, I'm for that too, but the trees on our side of the street are horrible already. They've just been cut back from the power lines and just butchered to pieces. And they're really not even, at least the trees in my general vicinity on my block, you might as well take them all out anyway. They're dying and they're not going to be there. So the other side of the streets is a different situation. But those are some, I hear some of my neighbors are in favor of it, and I want to be convinced, but I've got some mixed feelings about it at the time.
All right, appreciate your comments. And one thing you mentioned about not sure if it would affect you personally with regard to the cost. When we do utility projects, we go after grants and loans, and a good portion of the projects are funded through loans, which are then repaid through the rates that everyone pays for their water and their sewer bills. So the more money we borrow, the more money we have to pay back, and that does ultimately impact the rates. Now, whether or not that would make a significant change, on a monthly basis, it's more likely to mean instead of replacing, more pipe, we would be restricted to replacing less pipe because the funding won't go as far. So, because we'll look at how much money we can spend. And, instead of replacing, 20 miles of water pipe, we're only replacing 10. And those are just, kind of some exaggerated numbers, but for, purposes of clearing that up.
I wanted to add too, I do agree with what a couple of other people have said, in that the effects of this need to be evaluated extensively. And I know it already has to some degree, but probably more. needs to be done. And I do think that I appreciate reaching out to the residents, but I got the letter. That was the first I'd heard about a median on College Street. And obviously there's nothing in the letter laying out the specifics of it. I guess some people reached out and found out more information, but there are a lot of older residents on this street and they may not be comfortable with Zoom or whatever. I think maybe more community outreach could probably be done as well, just to see what the impact is going to be on each resident and how their reaction would be to that.
All right, well, we appreciate your comments, and Cindy's been trying to keep me on task with who is raising their hand. Have I missed anybody at this point? Jackie, I think Jackie, I think you've had something you wanted to say for a little while.
Yeah, but I want to make sure that everybody that's Zooming in, that's not on, other board members and community members have had a chance to speak. So I'm only raising my hand in case we've run out of that list, but not until we've heard from everybody else.
I think we've been through everybody at least once, and I think there might be a couple people that want to circle back to with some additional questions.
Okay, so first, I thank you then. I have a couple of comments. One of them is I want to thank everybody that is speaking up. Whether you're in agreement or not, it's extremely important for us to hear everybody's concerns so that we can think about them and ponder them as we do move forward. So I want to thank everybody that has brought their concerns to the table. That's really important. I also want to really thank Bill Rourke and Amy Ratliff and the rest of our engineering staff for giving us this opportunity to discuss it and for the work that you've already put into this. It makes me extremely proud to be associated with all of you. And so I think the answering of the questions, I think the opportunity to discuss this, it's not the same as being in the room with one another, but I appreciate having the opportunity and giving the opportunity for members of our community to speak up and voice what's on their minds. My question, I hope, is a little more, with respect to the specific project, is going down to where Bill was talking about painting in bulb outs and so on down on Main Street to get us used, and the median to get us used to the idea of having it there. All of you all know I'm a big fan of making things look as cool as possible. I know that Fayetteville and Charlotte have some painted in accommodations like bulb outs and so on that are a little more appealing than the industrial yellow. And so I'm just wondering, if we proceed with this, could we have the opportunity to get some community involvement in trying to pretty them up, what's painted a little bit?
We would probably have to talk about that with DOT. Some of the cool streets that you have mentioned and I have seen in other areas are frequently city-owned streets, not necessarily DOT. And I'm not sure with their working in our painting scheme, they have bid items for certain things, and yellow and white paint are their favorite colors.
And they can do that if we can come over later with our own volunteers and enhance it. I'm just saying, and I'm happy to do any begging and pleading. So I understand that might go in one way, and I'm just hoping that we might have the opportunity to encourage a little artistry on our own after the fact.
Yeah, that might be something that we could consider getting an encroachment agreement. That's the method where DOT lets you do something. But yeah, the goal now would be we create the coloring book that you can come back in and fill in the lines.
That's it. That's it. And I'll do any legwork you need me to.
All right. Do we have anyone else that had some questions that hasn't had an opportunity to speak yet?
One question, Amy, what is our time frame on answers to this project?
With regard to the College Street median, we are working with DOT and the Division of Water Infrastructure, that's the funding agency. This project technically should be under construction right now, and DOT already held it up to get the encroachment. Obviously, you know, we want to move forward with this sooner rather than later. Bill, we've talked about trying to go ahead and bid this project and even looking at whether or not we could bid as an alternative 2 different ways to install this sewer line, because the DWI, as you're aware, when we get the letter that says we're funding this project, gives us milestones of when we're supposed to start design, when we're supposed to bid the project, when we're supposed to be under construction. We've actually missed the under construction deadline, so we don't have a lot of, and that's due to DOT being a holdup, not McGill or Oxford, but we do want to move forward with this as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Anyone else for a first question?
Yeah, I would just like to say this. You know, if I have to vote on this or make some decision on this, I have to feel comfortable that the residents that live on that street and the issues of safety to children is clear in my mind. When I think of a narrower street with cars lined up on the street, that concerns me relative to safety. And the young man who spoke about he has a bunch of, you know, kids in his family, what's important to me is the safety of his children and other children that live on that street. Now, I have seen funerals at the funeral home on College Street, and all I can say to you is, in some instances, people of importance really causes a lot of cars to be on that street. And I can only imagine if somebody that has a lot of friends dies and folks are lined up and down College Street, you know, and I know it's only for that day, but still, I think we have to really look at what effect this is going to have on the residents, you know, that live on that street. Because I don't want to read about any kid being hurt because I wanted to somehow give the impression that, you know, we have a beautiful city. I want to be convinced that we're not affecting the safety of people that live on that street when we make this decision. And I'm not convinced yet. And I think that's why I wanted to hear from more residents on College Street. And if only 4 residents on that street want to say something, then I guess that's what we got. But, you know, that's my concern.
Related to Commissioner Bridges' concern, and I apologize, I have terrible, oops, am I breaking up? Hang on, I'll put my picture on there. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Related, my vision is.
Uh-oh, Jackie got muted.
Okay, how's this?
All right,
Okay.
you're back.
I don't recall the detail around Cradle School from the plans that Bill put up, but I do recall that when we did the bike and ped plans, there was a discussion for doing actually bulb outs at the crosswalk, but of course, I don't think there was a discussion about putting a median in place. But I do wonder if something like that would help in terms of visibility. If there's a car and there's a car, if you have a little protective bulb out on the side of the crosswalk on the school side, will that help? I will say, and I don't want to preempt our engineer or Mr. Rourke, Commissioner, but in the work that I used to do with walkability through the health department, it was always discussed that the way to increase safety when crossing the street is actually to have a median that in the middle of the road that almost acts like a way station, where you can, rather than having to get all the way across. Now, I don't remember the design of this, but that you could go part way and be protected by the median and then part way across again. So I don't know, maybe part of the design, if it's braking at Cradle School, if the median is coming up close to the crosswalk, maybe there could be an island for children to be there and then continue across.
That's certainly something we can look at a little bit more closely. I'm sure that there would be crosswalks in that vicinity because it is a school and we would be going back with anything that's already there or adjusting it to work with the median as it's proposed to be. And I believe the school had sent in some comments that we'll be looking at addressing with regards to the school buses and them turning in and out of the school as well. So they sent some comments. I thought they were going to be on the call tonight, but Stan Winborn did send those in earlier.
Thank you.
Cindy, not Cindy, I'm sorry, Amy, did you hear any feedback from the funeral director or the owners or any concerns or issues that they had or would have?
That they have not gotten back with myself or anybody else in the office that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
This is Marshall Tanner again. Everything that I think there are concerns there, but if the number of funerals that we have is not that many, you know, the things that Jackie's talking about around Cradle School can be done. But if you live on this street, the number of cars coming by, the number of trucks coming by at high levels of speed makes it difficult for us to even get out of our driveway without getting hit too. So anything we can do to slow down the traffic coming down will certainly reduce the chances of children getting hurt or somebody stepping out in front, you know, of a car. Just because it's wider, you know, still doesn't keep somebody from running into telephone poles or running into cars. Or, you know, I know that we had a gentleman that parked his lawn cutting vehicle right out in front of our house, right on the curb, and somebody still managed to, on that wide street, run right into the back of his truck, van, and everything else. And so if somebody isn't paying attention with the telephones or anything like that, then those things can happen. But day in and day out, you know, there will never be a perfect solution to this or any other thing. But how soon, you know, what is the majority of the time, you know, in 24 hours it's going to be a problem? It just doesn't seem very much in comparison to what would happen to the safety and to the way that the street will look. You know, you can look at the trees. If you don't have them on your side of the street, you know, I agree that those trees got butchered, but just because they got butchered doesn't mean that we have to knock all ours down on this side of the street too. We still don't live on the street. We all get this aesthetic value from those trees. The people coming in wanting to see our community, the walkability, all those things are there too. So, you know, there is no perfect solution, but I think overall the median will do great things for this community, and I hope that that's what we decide to do. Thank you.
To add to Mr. Tanner's comment, the person that had the truck there had the cones out, which they had to use to let oncoming traffic know that the truck was parked there, and I can attest to that one.
Okay, Commissioner Fields, you broke up a little bit on that one, but
I was just saying that I can attest to what Mr. Tanner was speaking to in reference to the truck and the trailer being hit parked in front of his house, because it happened to have been mine and my husband's equipment, and we had the cones out indicating that he was parked there, and this person was trying to pass on the right and just went right up into the equipment. So you're right, Mr. Tanner. It even with the wide street.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean,
So making the street narrower would make it better.
Not necessarily, but things happen.
typically one of
Sorry.
All right. Somebody's called Lisa's iPad. I
Yeah.
think we've heard from you before.
Yeah, so this is Jeff Shones on 414 College Street, and we've lived here for 3 years. We love the community, but I will tell you, I agree with the traffic coming down College Street, and I feel like the median is a bonus because I think it's gonna eliminate some of the problems that we have with that, and I can't tell you how the people that come down College Street just fly, they pass each other, and it really is a danger. And the second part of that is we came into Oxford to be a part of the historical community, and I feel like it definitely would add to that as a person that came here just as one of the reasons. So we're in favor of it as well.
Okay, and I want to circle back around to one of the questions or comments about narrowing the streets. That is one of the methods that DOT and many cities actually employ to try to slow traffic down and make it safer, is to narrow the streets down, because that way folks, if you've got 50 feet of asphalt, you feel much more comfortable doing 50 miles an hour than if you've got less asphalt there and need to pay a little bit closer attention to what you're doing. Are we still going to have speeders any size road we have? Of course, that's not going to go away, but they do employ the roundabouts, pork chops, and bulb outs are different ways to try to reduce the speed of traffic and increase safety.
So is there an opportunity to change the speed limit on College Street?
That is determined by DOT. I'm not sure if they will, I think we have had discussions with them before about changing the speed limit, and that's a very challenging process, is my understanding.
It seems like one would be complementary to the other, but okay.
We certainly can raise that question. Whether or not it will gain any traction. Part of what DOT looks at are, what traffic patterns there are there and the traffic that they're trying to move through a particular street, and what type of development is on either side of the road. And as was mentioned before, this is a mix of residential and non-residential. So we can raise that question.
By the same token, and then I know David Wicker has his hand up, that the research shows that people respond much more immediately to the physical narrowing of the traffic lane than they do to a traffic limit sign, which doesn't mean that you're not making a reasonable point, but there has been they actually call it a road diet, that you narrow the lane to physically make people feel more constrained and they slow down. And now David Wicker, I think, wants to comment.
And I do want to comment on that issue, and with all due respect, I don't know that I completely agree with the logic that's being put forward. I would agree if you narrow this down to a single lane dirt path, you're going to substantially reduce the speed simply because the road condition does not permit the additional speed. But I agree with Commissioner Bridges. If you're not going to change the speed and you're going to limit the size of the road, you've not made it safer, you've made it more dangerous. If you want to control the speed, a median is not going to control the speed. You control the speed by regulation, which is a speed limit. You control the speed by enforcement. If there's an issue with the speed, then you can deal with it with DOT with studies with regard to what the accidents are and what the enforcement requirements are. And if that's what the issue is, address it the appropriate way. Simply contact the police department and have that speed enforced if that's truly a safety issue. If it's not truly a safety issue, then they won't be out there. But you know, what I'm hearing is it's terribly dangerous and people are running up and down the road really fast, but I haven't heard anything that there's been any attempt to regulate it by way of enforcement. So, you know, I don't know how bad it is. I live there every day. I see cars going up and down every day. Do I see people speed? Of course I do. But I see them speed on Broad Street. I see them speed on the Loop. You know, I certainly see them speed on 85. It's whatever the limit is, somebody's going to go over the limit. If you want to address it by enforcement. Don't address it by narrowing down the road.
Well, and one of the things that, you know, to respond to that is we're looking at the medians as a enhancement that we can do as part of a utility project that may, you know, in some of our opinions, provide a nicer entrance to Oxford in the downtown area, beautification, and that, you know, this would give it a different feel than the road that is coming in currently. And so this was something we looked at as a possibility of adding to a utility project and able to also go along with the downtown master plan that was adopted some time ago and the DOT comprehensive transportation plan that was also adopted some years ago. So we're trying to merge a number of different plans and ideas that have been on the table for a number of years that have been generated by different agencies for different reasons. You know, whether DOT's, you know, looking at their 30-year plan through 2045 and what that will look like in Granville County. You know, the downtown DOEDC is looking at what, you know, they want the downtown to look like moving forward. I'm looking at what do we want our utilities to be to make sure that we're not, you know, utilizing pipes that were installed in 1905 and crossing our fingers and hoping they continue to last. So, you know, we're looking at how many, you know, projects can we make work together to, you know, see where we can go with it. But we certainly, you know, appreciate everybody's comments that has spoken and, you know, participating this evening. That was one of the reasons that we wanted to, you know, have this meeting, is to get the input of, you know, the folks that would be directly impacted as well as the general public. And we can certainly, you know, check and see if all the letters got out to the appropriate parties. I think it was mentioned that some folks may not have gotten the letters or may not have been comfortable with dialing into a Zoom meeting and making sure they have an opportunity to speak. I think, Thomas, did you put your hand back up again?
Sorry, I'm not sure how these work. It's my first Zoom meeting. I apologize. Yes, I did want to say a couple more things. The I still don't quite understand the scope and how the decision has been, like, where does the median end on College Street coming into Maintown? How downtown? How's that decision made? Where the median ending coming into down Main Street into downtown? The stopping it. Why is it being stopped at Little John? Why not extend it all the way down? I mean, these issues of safety and concerns and walkability and things apply to the downtown. If I understand that we're focusing on the medians this evening tonight, but this is also part of a larger repaving. This is being piggybacked on the repaving project that is taking place downtown, which includes all of Main Street and, from what I understand, also Williamsburg Street. I was understanding that was Hillsborough, but Williamsburg Street. Those, why aren't improvements being put forward for those as well? If DOT seems to be willing to cooperate and stuff, why not push for greater things? And also something else too, I mean, it seems like it's a rush to get this project in before Raleigh implements their repaving structure. As an owner of a business on Main Street, I would be interested in making sure that we explore all the options of things that we could potentially accomplish with DOT, since they will be paying and repaving the street. If there's opportunity for them to do more improved crosswalks that are safer for people with young children to go out and about, if there's a way to improve sidewalks and do different things that enhance the downtown and make it safer and more accessible, I'll be wholeheartedly support having the street. The street's it's not in great shape, but it's passable, and I'm willing to wait to make sure we fully explore all the opportunities and options that are associated with this project.
Your question about why did we stop the medians where we did, that was where the downtown master plan called for the medians to be on College Street and Main Street. With regard to DOT paying for the improvements, the DOT will not be paying for the bulb outs. They have indicated that they would pay for painting schemes, and if we wanted it painted, the parking lines, as Bill mentioned, a different angle in order to keep the same number of parking spaces. You're paying parking spaces one way or the other. If we want to change the angles, they're going to pay for, paying for the striping either way. But building the bulb out and the crosswalk that has been discussed at the OEDC, that is something that the city of Oxford has to pay for. They are not paying for the bulb outs. With regard to postponing the resurfacing, if we postpone till 2037, which was a date thrown out by DOT, the roads might be passable now, but I'm not sure about the condition if we wait that long a period of time.
Is that a realistic date, 2037? I mean, I understand the talking point on it, but 17 years.
They actually they threw that number out to us. I heard it from more than one source, not just from DOT, but they were telling other consultants that number as well.
And can I point out, I think one thing to make clear, and then I want Amy to jump back in, Thomas, is that the DOT project is not just for that stretch on Main Street and Williamsboro Street. There are a lot of other streets in town that are part of that same resurfacing project. So it's not just those 2 or 3 blocks, just to clarify.
Okay.
And the project on College Street with the medians and the utility is completely separate from the DOT resurfacing project. They're both standalone projects. Resurfacing is one project. It just happens to impact Main Street. And the College Street DOT does not have plans to resurface that road. It's the utility installation of both water and sewer on that road that is brought the question up of could we install a median to potentially reduce the cost, save the trees, add some beautification, and possibly safety. And one of the reasons for the meeting tonight was to get the input of folks that will be impacted by that and take that under consideration and what we need to investigate in more detail. And by Pat leaning forward, does that mean I am breaking up again?
Yep.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure if I turned my video off, if that would aid, but one of the things that, would like to, check on with everybody is to make sure that you had an opportunity to speak if you joined us. And I think there's a few people that have listened in that have not added in. If anybody would like to comment, we certainly welcome your input.
And I will go back and also address the comment about why we were stopping at Little John. The street enhancement doesn't stop at Little John. We are looking at the section all the way from Williamsboro to Spring. And we've worked on that design to improve the parking and do the bulb outs, but presentation got hijacked before we got there. So rest assured that's something that's out there, and we can look at that at another time if you want to.
All right, does anybody have any other comments, or we are certainly, invite you to contact the engineering department directly if you have anything else that you want to add.
Can I ask a question to follow up on Thomas's questions about trying to get enhancements down Williamsboro Street? Is it unrealistic if we were able to work with McGill to do the same type of design for bulb outs and parking and so on, just to have it painted in on Williamsboro? And if you answered that earlier and I missed it, I apologize, Amy.
I think that Williamsboro, being a road that DOT is resurfacing, if we had a painting scheme, this is the way we want to change the angle of the diagonal parking or paint a bulb out on the ground, I think that's something we could have a discussion with DOT. I'm concerned, and I know Bill is as well, we've talked about this before, if we start adding too many things to the project, DOT may invite us to do our own project.
Okay.
And not contribute, not be a part of theirs. But we can certainly feel them out to see, would painting Williamsboro be something they'd be willing to do? And certainly, taking the opportunity of when they're resurfacing it, would be ideal if we can get them to allow that.
Okay, we certainly understand not wanting to upset the apple cart. Thank you.
And just so that you know, DOEDC is working with McGill. We've had this discussion about painting. What would that cost? We've gotten some cost estimates, and it would look at painting only some of our streets. So this conversation has started. We're just not ready to present anything like that at this moment in time.
Thank you.
All right, if we don't have any other comments, we appreciate everyone joining us this evening and providing your opinions and items that we can look at. And I will circle back around with Bill and the city staff, and we will look at what we can come up with based on the comments we received. And this will be something that the Public Works Committee will be looking at again at our next meeting. So we'll circle back around, and once we have some more information to provide on our decisions, we'll make sure that gets out. All right. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.